Welcome to PBS Media Shift's Digital Media Brief, brought to you by NextSpace and NextKids Co-working and Childcare in San Francisco. I'm Mark Glazer, Executive Editor at PBS Media Shift, with guests Craig Silverman from Emergent.info, Michael Calderone from the Huffington Post, Jay Hathaway from Gawker, George Kelly from the Bay Area News Group, and Andrew Lee at American University. What can news organizations do to stop the rising tide of fake viral content online? Craig Silverman's recent report on viral content and lies finds that too many media outlets are spreading lies without verifying first. Craig, what's the problem here and what are some solutions?
The problem, I think, derives a lot from the fact that, of course, a lot of news websites are, very oriented towards producing a lot of content and getting as much traffic as possible. And so when they see stuff on social networks, on Reddit, or elsewhere on other news websites that they think can get some traffic, the instinct and the message being sent in a lot of cases by management is to jump on that, to get it on our site, and we can sort of figure out if it's true or not later. And so what this ends up causing is a huge amount of really suspect claims, stuff that doesn't really have any evidence to it, can suddenly get out and get on a bunch of news websites really quickly and start driving tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of shares. And and a lot of times these rumors and these claims end up being false. So you have news websites actually propagating false claims, and they often don't go back to correct them, and they're often not actually doing any reporting or verification. They're just linking out to what's out there, kind of washing their hands of it and moving on. So I think one of the first steps, obviously, is if there are sites doing that, then there's a bit of a counter strategy to enact. What you should do is set the clock literally 5 or 10 minutes and say, okay, I'm going to follow all the links back in this story and I'm going to figure out what I can actually find out about it. And if you find out that it's not true or it's suspect, then you have a really fresh story to write and you can probably still ride that wave of traffic that other people are trying to do. And the other thing that I would say for news organizations is to understand that rumors are a very naturally occurring phenomenon. And particularly when it comes to events where there's anxiety and uncertainty, whether it's a natural disaster or something like that, people are trying to figure it out, and that leads them to sort of start creating and spreading rumors. And if you actually look at rumors as potential intelligence, something that might be true or might be false, but either way that tells you something about people's state of mind and what they're thinking and feeling, then I think that there's a whole new layer of reporting and content that you can uncover if you look at it and you really analyze it and you really try to figure out what's driving this, whether it's truth or whether it's fears and a lack of information. So, there's intelligence to be derived from rumors, but I think right now it's pretty much being squandered because people are just trying to go for the quick hit.
And Jay, do you think that it's possible that the antiviral or debunking of rumors could also be just as viral?
Yeah, that would be ideal. Maybe not just as viral, but it can definitely still be popular because I feel like some of the same impulses that drive people to share those original, salacious, maybe not quite true stories on Facebook, like being the first to get this information out to their friends, that kind of stuff, also drive them to share the debunking, the things that they find out aren't true. And we've seen a lot of that so far with antiviral. I think that there is kind of this, seeing enough fake news does kind of inoculate the population a little bit toward it and make people more skeptical. And, just like an actual virus, I feel like people will take the steps that they need to take to stop it from spreading. Some people are irresponsible. Some people will profit from that. And I think a lot of news organizations are starting to feel a little queasy about profiting from that as the audience and the media critics become more critical and more outspoken. So yeah, I think there's a lot of hope that it can be very popular for a lot of very good reasons. Okay.
And Michael, what's your kind of personal take on publishing rumors, both on social media and on Huffington Post?
I mean, I generally try to stay away from most rumors. I mean, I guess I have different levels of rumor. I have maybe what I would call informed speculation, And, this would go if I'm reporting on, say, who's going to be the next editor of, the New York Times, sources inside say these three people. To me, that is a fairly innocuous rumor. Now, if I just got an email that said there was a shooting at the New York Times, that is not something I would put on social media. So maybe it's just, having an internal compass about these things and thinking about, what is this information, how important is this information? How important is this information to get it on the internet immediately? This happened for me with David Carr a few weeks ago when David Carr tragically died at the Times. There was speculation first on Twitter because a couple of times people had tweeted things about this. I got a call from somebody at the New York Times who said, yeah, it's true. This is true. But what do you do with that information? For me, it was not worth going on Twitter and saying, a source tells me that David Carr has died. I just did not publish anything, and within 5 minutes, the Times actually confirmed it, and I feel like in that case, it was the right way to hold this information. In that case, unfortunately and sadly, it was true. But I feel like reporters need to have a sort of internal compass and think about what is this information, what is the rumor, do we need to get it out on the internet immediately? Jay Rosen has talked about the idea of the ego scoop, where is this a legitimate enterprise scoop? Because all reporters are competitive, we want scoops, or is it something that's just so we could say, I was right, I had it 3 seconds before CNN, and CNN had it 3 seconds before Bloomberg, and we're just having this sort of spat among reporters, or is this actually serving the public's interest in any way? So these are all important things that I think, news organizations should be instilling in reporters, but I think everyone kind of has to, for themselves, because we're publishing live on social media, and in some cases with little to no editing on the sites we write for, we have to be thinking about these things ourselves.
Yeah. And George, do you think there's a role for traditional media in kind of debunking these rumors and taking the extra time, the 5 to 10 minutes to really check things and call to verify?
Yes, I'd like to think there is, and I've seen it evolving in some of our practices. We are still split between print and digital, so every day, hopefully not every day, we are publishing corrections as necessary or clarifications. We're taking calls from organizations and sources to add on additional information, maybe make in-flight corrections to stories, even if it's a misspelled name or a tone or tenor that could be, agreeably disagreed on. I don't think we've got a ways to go on our digital side, but we're still making strides. Like we're still pushing on the breaking news, but we're also still, I hope, giving longer form, longer term hints of, openness to shifting on things like special projects. I know that a project I'm contributing to, I'm going to have to do some more work on it today or tomorrow because we've got new information. And that's just part of the process, trying to capture things in real time. First drafts of history can be marked up.
Definitely. And Andrew, there's always been rumors around online, but what's different now? What's changed?
Yeah, I can't help thinking about the Mark Twain quote, right? A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting its shoes on. But the difference in this day and age is that lie, you can quantify it, you can measure it, you can tell how many mobiles it made it to, it's going to multiple countries, you can tell the path and that it takes. So what the problem is that it's too tempting to get those metrics and that measurement and to walk into your boss's office and say, hey, I was the #1 tweeted person on the story, or look at all the traffic we got. And it's also too easy to whitewash the errors, right? Too many news organizations are not transparent on corrections or showing when they got it wrong. And to counter or to rebalance that equation, you have to make it hurt, right? So that's why organizations and operations like Craig's, like Regret the Error, pointing out these things to keep them accountable are so important. And I'm somewhat hopeful in that projects like Wikipedia, which the public seems to have the perception that it's got loose standards, it's useful, but they're not sure how hard it is to get content into Wikipedia. They have very high standards for verifiability and reliable sourcing, so that in the long term, I'm fairly confident and hopeful that sites like Snopes and Wikipedia and these folks will get it right in the long term, and that pretty much any story of consequence will have the truth ferreted out in the end.
Well, thanks for joining us for the Digital Media Brief from PBS Media Shift, brought to you by Next Face and Next Kids. Learn more about their pioneering program combining co-working and childcare at nextspace.us/nextkids. We'll catch you next week.